Most of us rely on a comforting boundary. What happens in our private lives stays there, having no bearing on our professional value. But at the top of the economic ladder, that boundary is a liability. Recently, a CEO running 2 nine-figure businesses discovered a pair of employees were having an affair while married to other people. Both were fired on the spot. Their performance reviews and quarterly targets were irrelevant. Their lack of integrity was the only metric that mattered. The logic used by the 1% is based on character consistency. If an individual justifies breaking a fundamental oath to their life partner, the judgment they bring to the office is already compromised. In this framework, someone capable of cheating at home is seen as someone capable of cutting corners with clients or compromising company data when the pressure mounts. Society teaches us to demand fairness by separating who we are from what we do. But for the middle class, this compartmentalization functions as a blind spot that hides why they aren't being trusted with higher levels of responsibility. Character is a measurable asset. It serves as the baseline for professional reliability and the long-term generation of wealth. Beyond the myth of the private life, there is the internet's favorite financial illusion, the obsession with earning passive income while you sleep. This chart shows why that mindset fails the average earner. On a standard salary of $60,000, an 8% market return yields less than $5,000 a year. That amount is too small to provide actual financial freedom. Now, look at the result when that same energy is used to acquire high-value active skills. When your primary earning engine jumps to $160,000, the growth dwarfs any return you could have earned on a small pool of savings. The passive goal is often a psychological trap. It encourages you to look for short preps instead of doing the difficult work of becoming undeniably competent at solving valuable problems. Until you have $1 million in liquid assets, passive income is a distraction. It is a tool for wealth retention, not a strategy for escaping the middle class. Avoiding the friction of skill building is easy when social media feeds you a constant stream of abundance mindset content, promising wealth through manifestation. This data shows the reality of the American economy. Of the 35 million businesses in operation, fewer than 200,000 ever cross the $1 million revenue threshold. Even that $1 million figure is a vanity metric. When we account for the cost of doing business, the average profit is just 8.5%. For most owners, that leaves a true profit margin that is barely enough to maintain operations. Manifestation content paralyzes the viewer. It replaces the need for rigorous, unforgiving systems with the hollow hope that success will eventually just arrive. Relying on viral tips or hacks leaves you exposed. Without deep financial literacy, such as knowing how to manage a balance sheet, you are guessing rather than growing. The abundance myth is a trap sold to provide comfort. The 1% operate on a different set of rules, the cold, mathematical reality of scarcity and execution. This focus on execution often clashes with the modern obsession with burnout and the constant push for work-life balance. The 1% believe human beings are not candles. They don't have a finite amount of wax that disappears because they're working hard. The sensation people call burnout is actually the friction of applying effort to the wrong problems, or working without a clear, measurable objective. When you have a massive, precisely defined goal, the relationship with pressure changes. It stops being a negative weight and becomes the necessary friction for generating momentum. Burnout is the psychological tax paid for working relentlessly on a life you don't actually want. Escaping that tax requires confronting a difficult choice, prioritizing being liked or being respected. When you prioritize being liked by your coworkers or your social circle, you lower your standards to match theirs. That habit erodes leadership potential and places a ceiling on what you can earn. Respect is built through different means. It comes from undeniable competence, having statistical proof of your results, and maintaining firm boundaries around your time and your goals. Wealth requires a transition in identity. You have to move past the people and habits that depend on you staying exactly where you are. The top 1% act as their own toughest critics. They demand excellence and respect, seeing universal validation as a distraction from real progress. You can continue to accept the comfort of the middle class, or you can embrace the cold math of high-level success. If you are ready to master the frameworks of wealth, subscribe and we will see you in the next one.